Good morning, everyone. Jeanette Biro here. I'm a medium and a channeler. Welcome to your Wednesday Wisdom with Spirit, where I will tune in through mediumship. Not channeling yet. I'm not quite there energetically, but mediumship for sure. And see what Spirit has to share. So if you're new to my channel, thank you for checking it out. Today I don't use cards or anything like that. I just use my natural way that I tune in through Spirit, which is really just like opening a door to that realm and having a conversation. So I'm just going to tune in for a moment and see who's there, and we'll just roll with it. So one moment. Okay, this is really neat. So what they're showing me, and this is coming from my guides, what they're showing me is, you remember the game Tetris, right? Where you have these blocks coming down and you have to try and flip the blocks in the perfect position to get them to create these like solid, bigger blocks that can then kind of link in and then disappear and so on. They're showing me that for many of us, we have felt in the past, we could see these blocks coming down, but we didn't feel like we could flip the direction of them to make them fit better. We didn't have control on the flipping and the altering of its position. They're saying now what's happening for many of us, and they're emphasizing many, like a lot of the collective, is the ability to flip the blocks now. And they're saying you're going to notice this more and more and more, this ability for greater cohesion in your manifestations. And I want to say it's more like the cohesion they're talking about is like when they're moving from just being in the ether to actually manifesting in your reality, like that moment, the small ability to adjust them, you're going to be able to notice that. And an example I can give you is, say you're looking for this particular job and you have an interview with this job, you go and you do the interview and you're like, yeah, it's not quite a perfect fit, but I think it's a great fit for where I'm wanting to go. And you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to take it. The next morning, before you give your response, you get another request for another job interview from a different company that gives you more of the things you wanted. It's like that Tetris block, but you were able to adjust it in the ethers before it arrived. So now it's going to fit better into your life. It's kind of those sort of things that Spirit is talking about right now. So really notice and pay attention to how that's happening. And also the same thing goes for, say you have this job interview and you're like, it's not quite what I want. You could go back home and sit and envision, again, with that energy of your will, envision the details that you do want, right? And you might not get every detail, but you might get more of them. Again, that shifting of the block's position in the Tetris game. This is something that we can really have a hand in and notice. And so really notice what you notice the next while in your journey, in your movement forward. How is that starting to shift for you? And how are you able to actively kind of participate in that? And it really is about recognizing you are this co-creator that Spirit has been talking about forever. But like, honestly, if you go to that interview and you're like, it's not quite what I wanted, and you sit and you envision what it is you want, you may be surprised at what kind of shifts can arrive as your manifestation is coming into reality. I think that is super cool. Okay, let me see what else there is. Okay, now this is interesting. Spirit is following on the heels of a little bit of what they said yesterday with those, remember there was that other timeline bubble and our timeline bubble in the beginning of the message? They're showing me now there's a lot of movement in timelines to, oh, I get it. Thank you. There's a lot of movement in timelines to do exactly what I just explained, but on a collective level. So this is so cool. Spirit is saying, we're doing this individually in our own lives, but the same thing is happening with the collective level for our earth, right? And different aspects in there. And Spirit is working to shift and transform the greater timelines as well, so that ones that will overlap in a good way in this cohesive pairing versus something jarring, right? If we take Tetris again, if you have it in the wrong shape, it's just not gonna fit. It would be jarring. Whereas if you have it at the right shape, twisted, it'll fit like this beautiful cohesive unit. And so they're saying, they're like, as you do this, yeah, as you do this in your own life, you're creating a greater energetic capacity for it to happen also in the ethers. Because remember, everything is a co-creation, so spirit can only do so much. As we open our hearts to what we truly want, we also open that frequency collectively. And the more people that do that, the more these beautiful collective pairing timelines can come in as well. This is so neat. And so they're saying we are massively creating new realities in every moment right now, individually and collectively, and it is having such an impact. And again, this is going to feed into what's coming in the November energy update, which again, I have not done yet. I'm going to have to be taking notes now. This is really neat. And again, these pairings are supporting the highest probable and idealized timelines possible. So the more that people tune in and open their frequency and raise it, the higher the frequency timeline that can come in, the greater the change, the better the forward movement, all of that kind of stuff. It's all happening as above, so below. Let me just see if there's anything else. This is such a neat message today. Okay, and lastly, they're saying for this to, I don't know that word. They just gave me a completely non-English word. I don't think it's an earth word. It was almost like a tone from spirit. Anyways, in order for this to work, what really is needed from each and every one of you, myself included, is to really trust your inner sanctum, is what they're saying. Really dive into trusting and honoring that inner sanctum of you, because that frequency is so strong and so deeply rooted, and sort of like it becomes a pillar of strength for the energetics. And they show me that when you're rooted in that energy, you're like a pillar that these frequencies can attach to. And the more they can attach to these pillars, the stronger they are. Just picture, they're showing me like a circus tent, right? You had the different poles, which we would be like the pillars, the poles. If you only have like 2 or 3 poles, that's going to be a really wobbly circus tent. But if you have many different poles balancing out what is above and being overlaid, you have a very, very strong circus tent. And so that's kind of what they're saying with our energy. So I hope that makes sense. What a cool message. I had no idea that was coming. I love it. So thank you so much for sharing in that with me. And please share this with anyone that you think it might help them. And hit like on that video and subscribe and all that goodness. And I just want to thank you all so much for joining me on this amazing journey. So I wish you a beautiful and wonderful day. And I will see you all tomorrow.